Alright, hey friends, welcome to Classics in Color, your weekly dive into some of the ancient world's wackiest facts. I'm Mark Graves, and today we're going to be taking a look at one of the world's most terrifying animals, the goose, and its relationship with the ancient Romans. So in modern America, geese are generally just yet another bird. They like to poop all over parks and they make a lot of noise when they migrate. But in the ancient world, geese are actually much more important and they're often a part of people's daily life. So they're used as a food source, but people also often use them as sort of pets / watchdogs. And there's a really great funny example of this in the myth of Philemon and Bacchus. So the myth of Philemon and Bacchus basically goes that Zeus is getting suspicious of humanity. He thinks they're getting annoying. So he goes in disguise as a mortal and he wanders around the countryside basically testing people, seeing if they're good hosts, because being a good host is a very important part of the ancient value system. And he tests people and eventually he gets to Philemon and Bacchus, and these two are just this very sweet old couple. They've been married since they were teenagers. They're really adorable and they're very poor and they just live by themselves, and they have this one pet goose that's sort of their watchdog. So Zeus shows up and he sees if they will invite him in and feed him dinner, and they do. They're very sweet. They are cooking dinner and they really want to go all out, so they offer to kill their goose and butcher it for him, but they can't catch it because they're so old. They're basically chasing the goose around their hut with their walkers, and the goose escapes them and eventually hides behind Zeus. And Zeus pardons this goose. He says, no, don't kill the goose, it's fine. And he ultimately rewards Philemon and Bacchus because they're such nice people. But I just love the fact that there's this goose that has such an important little role in this myth. And geese aren't just important in mythology. They play a role in history sometimes as well, at least according to what the Romans tell us. One time, there was a war between the Romans and the Gauls, who are the ancestors, more or less, of the Germans. There was a particular tribe named the Senones who had marched all the way down into Italy. They were fighting with the Romans, and they were winning. The Romans had their backs against the wall. They had lost most of the city of Rome. Only the inner citadel, the Capitoline Hill, remained in Roman control, and the Gauls were looking for a way into that as well. So let's take a look at what the Roman historian Livy has to say about what happened. While this was going on at Veii, the citadel of Rome and the capital were in very great danger, for the Gauls had noticed the tracks of a man where the messenger from Veii had gotten through, or perhaps had observed for themselves that the cliff near the shrine of Carmentis afforded an easy ascent. So on a starlit night, they first sent forward an unarmed man to try the way. Then, handing up their weapons when there was a steep place, and supporting themselves by their fellows or affording support in their return, they pulled one another up as the ground required and reached the summit, in such silence that not only the sentries but even the dogs, creatures easily troubled by noises in the night, were not aroused. But they could not elude the vigilance of the geese, which, being sacred to Juno, had, notwithstanding the dearth of provisions, not been killed. This was the salvation of them all, for the geese, with their gabbling and clapping of their wings, woke Marcus Manlius, great name, consul of 3 years before and a distinguished soldier, who, catching up his weapons and at the same time calling the rest to arms, strode past his bewildered comrades to a Gaul who had already got a foothold on the crest, and dislodged him with a blow from the boss of his shield. As he slipped and fell, he overturned those who were next to him, and the others in alarm let go their weapons, and grasping the rocks to which they had been clinging, were slain by Manlius. And by now the rest had come together and were assailing the invaders with javelins and stones, and presently the whole company lost their footing and were flung down headlong to destruction. So there you have the time that the sacred geese saved the city, and ever after that, the Romans pretty much had a special respect for geese. Let's actually take a look at a passage from Pliny that references this and just has some fun praising geese as the amazing animals that he thinks that they are. That geese can be alert and attentive is shown by their defense of the Capitoline, when the dogs through their silence almost led to our downfall. And so, when the censors take office, among the first things they do is to arrange a contract for feeding the geese. That geese can perceive wisdom is also clear, For example, it is said that a goose was always at the philosopher Lycides' side, never leaving him, whether in public or in the baths, whether by night or by day. So here we learn that it is important to feed the sacred geese, but we also see the tendency of the Romans and most people in general really to anthropomorphize animals that they really like, that they spend a lot of time with. You see, he says that they're capable of appreciating human wisdom and philosophy, which I don't think is something that any goose understands or cares about at all, but he thinks that they do. And there's actually a few other stories, sort of urban legends, if you will, about geese who fell in love with young mortals. And that's really weird for us. Why is a goose falling in love with a human? That's gross and weird. But what this indicates to an ancient Roman is anytime any animal falls in love with a human, and there are stories about this happening with elephants, with snakes, with all kinds of different birds, it usually indicates something positive about the animal, namely that they can appreciate human aesthetics, human bodies, human values, that it's better for an animal to be in love with a human than with another animal, or at least it indicates something good about an animal, that it would feel that attraction, which again for us makes no sense, but it does seem that that is what is going on here with these geese, that they are just so special and so intelligent that they can appreciate beautiful and intelligent humans. Thanks so much for checking out this video. Are you convinced? Do you agree with the Romans that geese are really cool? Or do you agree with me and think that geese are vicious dinosaurs? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Special thank you as always to subscribers and to Patreon members, and I hope to see all of you again next week. Karate.